Hey, welcome. Lola and Spencer hanging out. Today, we're going to introduce ourselves and then we're going to chat through a framework that we used for TMEQ 2024. Lola, introduce yourself. What do you want to say? What do you want people to know?
Oh my gosh. I'm Lola. I am the KWYP chapter president for the Twin Cities. I've been in real estate for 6 years now. Born and raised in Minnesota, have 4 kiddos, 8, and then soon to be 5, 4, and 3. And yeah, that's me.
Very cool. Why'd you get into real estate?
I got into real estate, honestly, for the biggest part was the time freedom because I had my one kiddo at the time, and it just wasn't feasible to have us both working, a 9-to-5 job. So that's primarily the reason why I got into real estate. The other 2 reasons, first one is going to be money. I don't think you're going to find an agent that's not going to tell you money played a part in why they got into real estate.
I'll tell you that, but it's a lie. I'm still working on my own internal issues of money is bad. Wait, money can be good.
Yeah, it can be good. And then the third reason is also because I worked prior to real estate. I worked at a restaurant called Lemongrass, and I was kind of in all different positions there. So I was an expo. That's the person that's behind the scenes, helping run food, helping the cooks with whatever they need. Every now and then they would help the hostesses, whatever support people needed. That's what the expo does. I was a server. I was a hostess. And I found out that I really liked the expo role. And the reason why was because I was able to make somebody's life a little bit easier. And it sounds so simple. It's as simple as, just running food out for a busy server. But that brought me some kind of internal joy to know that, oh my gosh, I did something to help somebody. And I think I've always been in the service industry, and that's always just been something that fulfills me. So I thought, what better way to kind of make an impact on people than to help them with one of the biggest milestones of their entire life.
So it's an upgrade from plates of food.
Right.
So, they can keep their plates, right? All the plates of this family get to live.
Exactly.
Very cool. I worked at a restaurant, and expo was tough because I'd always just want to swipe off the part of the dish, or I just wanted to taste it. So.
That's so funny.
Cool. Should I introduce myself?
Yeah.
I'm Spencer. My wife and I have been realtors. I think I was licensed in May or June in 2019, and then she was licensed 1 month later, also 2019. And why real estate is because I got fired. I'm a terrible, terrible employee. People can't tell me what to do. I can't even tell myself what to do.
Yeah.
It's maddening. So working on that. I've got a few therapists that we're just working through. And this has been great because my broker, right, still has to tell me what to do. But mainly I'm my own boss. When Anna steps in and tries to be my boss, at least I love her. So I don't fight as bad as I do with other bosses. As bad. It's still so ridiculous. Sometimes I just feel why can't I just but so here we've got our framework today. We want to talk about, my banner is, we're going to show the 6 types of working genius. This book has been so helpful.
Do you also have an Awala?
Yeah.
I love these things.
Yeah. When it needs to not spill, then Awala is my container of choice. So Anna and I were working together for 5 years. So we were rewinding to 2024. And we decided, let's hire a coach. So we hired a MAPS mastery coach, and David Bernal is amazing. And a few calls in, he's like, I think you guys need to have some sort of framework because we would just fight on our calls. And he's like, listen, you guys are both right. You're both right. 100%. Spencer, you are right. Anna, you are right. But you're not seeing that we need to work together. So then he introduced the 6 types of working genius. Patrick Lencioni is the author of this book. And so he, as he's presented it, he's like, some people will be like, I have all these, here, let's go here first. These are the 6 areas of working genius, or 6 working geniuses. So it goes from ideation. Here's the first phase, ideation. We got wonder and then invention. We'll get to each of them. Activation, discernment, galvanizing, then execution, enablement, tenacity. And so back up here, he says, each of us has 2 areas that are considered true geniuses. They give us joy, energy, passion. As a result, we usually are quite good in these areas. And it's best for us and the organization if we do as much, if not most of our work in these areas. I think reading slides to a camera is terrible, but I'm doing it. Here's our working competency. Working competency. So genius, really great at that. Working competency, I can do it okay. And then there's a working frustration. Tylenol. Working frustration. These are the things that drain us of joy. Let's see if I can highlight that. Nope. These are our working frustrations. We usually struggle in these areas, these activities, and then we can't completely avoid work there. But if we find ourselves spending a lot of time on task, that's where we experience misery and then burnout. We struggle, even fail. I got fired because I was working in a working frustration so much, asking me to do paperwork. It is a frustration of mine. So bad employee, but also bad fit. So here's our genius versus competency versus frustration. Even though each type is called a genius, no one person can claim all 6 as their individual geniuses. We all have areas where we thrive, areas where we struggle, and areas that fall somewhere in between. So we're going to look at each of the categories. We got to understand where we shine and the areas we don't. So here we're back to our framework. So they're gears because they work together. So we start with an ideation. This is like the flow of work. He gives an analogy of like an airplane flying. And so ideation, we're flying at like 30,000 feet. And the idea is like, hey, we should land at some point. I wonder, where would we land? And what's a good destination, right? So they start with ideation, asking questions, I wonder. And then invention says, well, I know that we all packed like summer clothes and we're pretty close to California, so maybe let's go to San Diego, right? And he's inventing, answering the question of the wanderer. He's like, or we could probably go to, I don't know, Bay Area or LA, right? So they're trying to invent, and then this person, activation needs to happen now, right? So as the pilot's like, okay, I need to know where to go, discernment is like, actually LA is going to be best. Maybe he's like, they're back and forth, like, what's the weather? And discernment's over here like, yeah, LA, let's go there. And then galvanizing is somebody else on the plane being like, is everybody on board? Can we go there? We galvanize everybody, we gather together and get everybody excited. Then we need to execute. Enablement is like, I will help you get the coordinates, maybe. But so on the plane, they're ideation, right? And then he comes down during activation a little bit. Execution is like, cool, we got to get going. Like, it's time to like throw out the landing gear, right? Or how do I help you? Like, maybe enablement's the one on the stewardess on the airplane being like, everybody please take your seats.
Perfect.
Tenacity is like, hey, we've got the landing gear out. We're ready to land this thing, right? We're finishing. So that's the idea. We're going down. At that point, we don't jump back over here of wonder of like, wait a second. And then like the pilot has to like come right back up to 30,000 feet. And it's like, what about Florida? And it's like, no, like we're about to land. So this was part of like what was going on with our business with Anna and I of like, I have this wonder, she has discernment. These are our working areas of working genius. And then I have enablement and she has tenacity, right? And so we can work together well, but there was some missing pieces of like invention, galvanizing. And so I'd wonder, she'd hop into discernment and kind of shoot back at me like, your idea is bad. And I was like, I don't even have an idea. I'm just wondering. I'm just asking questions. It was terrible. So having this framework and being like, oh, we're just missing a few gears that would allow us to like work more smoothly together. And there we are. So widget gives all of those together. And now we're going to talk about, let's talk about me and you, Lola.
Yeah.
I had this wonder, I had this idea of like, man, bold with YP for some reason got me into action better, right? And so then my wonder was like, I wonder if we could do that without YP, right? Like without a bold, I guess, no. With YP, without bold. That's what I want to say.
There you go.
So I started to wonder and then threw out the question and then tell me your top two. Do you remember them?
Yes, it is invention and galvanizing.
So you're the missing piece to my business with Anna, right? Of like, I ask a question, she's asking other questions and saying like discernment, hey, here's all the blind spots to that, or this is what's good, this is what's bad. And we needed someone to invent, right? Or we still do. But here you are, you've got this invention. If we're just sticking with that case study, I threw out this idea, YP kind of like bold, but what if we didn't have to pay for bold and we could just get like those benefits from it? What do you remember? It was just in a chat, right? And then you're like, yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah. I think, yeah, you put it on the chat and I was like, that's also exactly what I need. And I know that I'm like, if I'm excited about something, I'm going to just like go head on and not think about any of the consequences, a good and a bad thing. But I think you had a little bit more reservations when it came to, okay, what are the logistics going to look like? How are we going to run this? Like, I think that's what maybe held you back a little bit more. Where I came in, I was just like, hey, let's do this. Like, I don't know what it's going to look like, but let's get together and figure out what it's going to look like.
Yes. And that's definitely like an area of insecurity for me, right? Of invention. And it might be like working, not frustration, right? So it's like a competency and I can do it. And I'm just like, for whatever reason, like I don't trust my own ideas. So, and so then I just learned to like, if I can just stay in wonder and if I can just stay in enablement. So maybe where you and I were talking, it's like the discernment part has been a little bit tough, maybe. Mm-hmm. Where do you think that would land for you? Is that a frustration for you or is that
discernment is a working competency for me?
And I would say it's working frustration for me. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. But then galvanizing. So you had some invention and then galvanizing. I would say that's an area where I absolutely appreciated and valued and so grateful for you for galvanizing. And like what I saw is like your action of like, let's just put it out to the YP world, right? Of like, who else struggles with this, right? Maybe tell me more, or can I just talk about you? I'm going to talk about you.
Do whatever you want.
Galvanizing. It's so helpful because then you're just like, yep, Facebook post and like put into words the things that you and I had kind of talked about once we hopped on a phone call. And just, you weren't afraid to just call people out and be like, we all have commitment issues and we've all got this struggle. And it was so cool to like start seeing again, like the plane descending a little bit of like, I had this idea, I started asking the question, and then it turns out that like a lot of people are liking this idea, right? Like this seems to be filling a need that people, a lot of people are raising their hands to be like, I'd be interested in that. Mm-hmm. I think another piece with that was you just threw out the poll, right? Or the questionnaire of like, cool, like if you're interested, did you have people like join a
Yeah, it was just in the group chat. We just created a poll, figured out, because I think as much as we wanted it to be something that was ours, we also wanted it to be something that was for everybody.
Right.
And so that's the reason why we put out those polls, is to figure out, okay, what's gonna make the most sense time wise, and two, what do people really need from it. And I think that's how we kind of like started putting 2MEQ together, and also how we're still kind of trying to change things up and see what is working and what's not working. Like it's a trial and error kind of thing that we're going through.
Yes, I wonder if I'm gonna galvanizing. Let's find their definition. So I'm gonna go back to here and put it back on stage. Galvanizing is rallying, motivating, provoking. Do you feel like you're a provoker?
Oh, for sure. I think it depends on the relationship with a person.
Okay.
But I can point out a few people that I'm great at provoking. We talked about Jackson yesterday. I'm great at just like assigning him, being like, you're doing this. But I think overall, like, I think I try and look at it from the perspective of other people and what might be important to them and what might excite them, and then use that as that motivator, like looking at what their pain points might be. And also, like, a lot of people's pain points are the same pain points that I have. So really just being kind of like genuine and hitting what those pain points are, instead of maybe having a surface level conversation or, whatnot. I think that just typically works to rally people a little bit better.
I love that. Yeah. And it's so again, this framework, like that's just something I don't have. And when it's like my turn to be the galvanizer, like it exhausts me. I do not like it.
I think you have it. I think there's just a little bit too much. I think you from basically based on what I've seen, I think you're too worried about how other people are going to view you. So if, like,
I like being liked. I really like being liked.
For example, I don't think if the roles were reversed in like that Facebook post, for example, I'm not sure if you would have said, hey, we all have commitment issues, because that's something that I'm super vulnerable about, because I know that I have, and I know a lot of other people have that. So that's me hitting their pain point. Whereas I don't know if you would have approached it that way, just because of you, like how reserved you are. So I think you have it. I just think we need to shift a small gear in your brain a little bit.
Well, and so that's where I think for me, like the enablement piece is, if we just look at that and just put these side by side.
Yeah.
Or let's just finish this galvanizing. So galvanizing, we would finish your action around an idea or initiative. And people with this initiative, or people with this genius are naturally inclined to inspire and enlist others to get involved in an endeavor. They don't mind persuading people to rethink or change their plans in order to embark on something worthwhile. Oof, that makes me uncomfortable. Having changed their plans. Eek. A gift. Compel someone to promote. Moving on to enablement. This is where, again, my genius zone is W, wonder, E, enablement. So this is me. The genius of enablement involves providing people with support and assistance in the way that is needed. People with this genius are adept at responding to the needs of others without conditions or restrictions. Some would call that I don't have any boundaries, right? It's just like, what do you want? Perfect. They are naturally inclined to help others accomplish their goals, and often can anticipate what people might need before they even ask. And individuals with the genius of enablement are frequently unaware that this is a genius at all. So you talked about working in a restaurant. For me as a server, I loved that, because it was like, these guys just ordered a steak and this person ordered a salmon. Cool. I'm going to go and make sure that like I get the steak knife and place it before, the food arrives. Watch the drinks. What are they, if they're regulars, just the anticipation, right? I love that part. And then the genius of enablement is the gift that compels someone to execute. It's interesting. That word execute maybe is a trigger for me.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think it's because I don't have galvanizing. Like, I feel like I don't finish, right? Like, to me, execution is like, let's get it done, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I'll get it started.
Yeah.
And then again, like, that's my feeling triggered. Our triggers are teachers. I just learned that this week. If we feel triggered, it's ready to teach us. So I feel triggered by the word execute because of my insecurity of like, I don't get stuff finished very
Yeah.
often.
Yeah. That's
I'm
fair.
happy to start them. Question for you then on this, as we work together, where have you seen enablement from me?
I mean, I think honestly, as you just kind of said, it's the, hey, I want to do your power to not be able to say no is what I've kind of seen. And then also we talked about it a little bit earlier, like your need to be kind of liked, which has shown me like, hey, I think throughout all of the decisions that we've tried to make, a lot of it has been, hey, well, how can we appeal to the masses more than, hey, we need to kind of make a couple decisions and run with those decisions. And if some people end up feeling left out, that some people are left out, which I think I'm speaking about it in terms of like, I feel like kind of in a negative way, but honestly, I feel like you are the type of person that everybody wants in their corner because they know that you're going to be their backer. You're going to be the one that's going to conform to whatever's kind of needed in that moment by the masses are. So I think it's a blessing and a curse to have and somebody that's leading something.
And for me, that's like the biggest. I just receive it as a compliment of like,
It's a huge compliment. And honestly, I think it's because even while we were planning this, like we would make a decision like, okay, well, we're going to do this on Wednesdays. And you always thought about all the other people that couldn't make it on Wednesday. And it's a total compliment. Don't take it as anything else.
See, I think if I'm using this in work, right, like as a realtor, it's like I can truly, with all sincerity, be like, if you don't love this house, that's fine. Like, this is your decision. You're going to live here. Like, it's not me at all, right? So if your goal is to buy a house right now, let's help you buy the house that you want to buy, right? Or on a listing appointment, it's like, these are all your decisions. It's all your money. You live here right now. You're hiring me to help you with that job. If you no longer need my help, that's fine. And all these offers, right? Like, I'm going to educate you on what are your opportunities, or what are your options. And I'll enable the sellers to be able to accomplish their goals, right? Mm-hmm. So that part really, truly, that's how I know, right? Like, I know that it's describing me as my genius. So maybe execute, again, trigger word, but get into action. I don't feel so triggered by that.
Yeah. I mean, there has to be some form of execution within enablement and within what you do, right? Because you just said, like, when you're presenting your offers or you're helping your sellers through a decision or you're helping your buyers find the right house, like, I still feel like in some way that's an execution. But I know you also mentioned, like, it's the way that you perceive the word, which is triggering you. But I think there's a full reason why enablement is within that like execution category, which is also funny because I was looking at that and I didn't realize like they had it split up into those three categories. And I don't have either of the working geniuses in execution, which makes so much sense to me because I can never finish anything or like physically start it. Like, I'll do all the pre-planning, I'll have all these great ideas, but I can never like put it into action or execute, as we were just talking about. But it makes so much sense now seeing that.
So then that allows you to see like, what's your missing gap, right? What's your missing piece of like, if you're going to hire somebody, find someone that's an executor.
Yes, for sure.
All right. Tenacity. I've read enough slides. You want to read it?
Tenacity is about satisfaction of pushing things across the finish line to completion. People with this genius are not only capable of, but naturally inclined to finish projects and ensure that they are completed according to specification. They gain energy by pushing through obstacles and seeing the impact of their work, and they find joy in crossing tasks off their list and getting closure. The genius of tenacity is the gift that compels someone to finish. See, I wish I had this. I just don't get I don't get as much dopamine from completing a project as I do from starting a project.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Same. So this one, and if Anna and I work together, but like in all ways, right? Like we work together to build a marriage. We work together to buy and sell real estate for clients. We work together as parents, and work together to maintain a household. And so, yeah. And as we've learned like this framework and like the tenacity piece, our house was, as it often gets with kids, like just a disaster. And it's like, we need to reset, get Christmas down and just get back to like baseline. And so we were talking about how do we do it all, do we all work on the same project at the same time, or do we, assign tasks and do some delegation? And so we decided like, hey, everybody just get your task and then just follow through to the end.
Yeah.
And then I got exhausted. Like I didn't finish my job. And she like also expressed that if she was having a hard time getting stuff started, right? Uh-huh. So like where I'm enablement and I can get things started, I'll be like, let me just start the dishes and start the kitchen. Yeah. And she comes in and like her joy zone is like, let me just get it finished.
That's amazing to kind of figure out and like use your strengths and weaknesses against each other. I love that so much.
Yep. So we don't have a galvanizer in our house. So both of us get exhausted of like, just feels like we're always like nagging the kids to like, let's get into action.
Yeah.
So one more time. Here's our, can we just make it, how do we make it better? This, is that scene? There we go. There's the framework. 6 working geniuses. Ideation, activation, execution. I think it's a great framework.
So too, because in the last graphic we saw, we didn't see responsive and proactive in the corners there. And to add that on, it's another shift in perspective on what like your strengths and weaknesses are.
And then proactive, activative, activation. Maybe they're just active right in the middle, right? Proactive here, active here, and responsive at the end. Execution.
Yeah, I love this.
There we have it. That's my question to each one of us. What is your genius? Probably should send out there's like a little assessment, right? Did I send that to you and you took the assessment?
Yep.
I think that's a good place to start. Understand where your working geniuses are, and then working competencies, working frustrations. To me, it's almost like layering this on top of like a KPA has been awesome to be like, because the KPA does an amazing job of like understanding me, but then I'm just like, I still am lost.
Right? I don't know what to do with this information.
But if I can like almost dissect it parts and pieces and be like, hey, this part of the KPA is describing wonder, right? And this part of the KPA is describing for enablement, right? For me, and just to be able to like layer it on top of each other and be like, cool, that now I can understand. And again, like I said, where Anna and I saw like maybe inventions like a working competency for me. It's a working frustration for Anna. Tenacity is a working frustration for me. Galvanizing is not on my list. So it's just like to understand that's the area that either we need to just have more grace with ourselves, or
Mhm.
maybe just like ask for help. It's one of our greatest superpowers, is to be able to ask for help, and to ask specifically for help and like effectively ask for help. It's like this clarity on like, oh, this is the gap, and let me define the help that I'm asking for, right?
Yeah, I love what you just said with like effectively asking for help, because I think a lot of the times when we're asking for help, we don't realize and we don't know what we're asking for. Are not we don't end up satisfied with the help that we get. So when you're being intentional about what you're asking for, I think this is a great thing. Like I said earlier, I don't have either of the execution wonders. And so for me, that tells me, hey, when I'm leveraging things out, like you said, I need to go find somebody that is an executor versus somebody that's going to help me invent it, because I realize that I get frustrated when people help me invent it because I want things to be all my own.
That's
Um,
my work. This
which
is
is
my job. Do it
fine.
alone.
Yeah. Um, so I think, like you said, being very clear about what it is that you're asking for is a great. Um, I'm not even being clear on what you're asking for, but understanding what you're asking for, I think, is a great skill to have.
Yes. Cool. Thank you for your time, Lola.
Yes, sir.
And let's do it again.
Thank you.